Welcome to the Lift Your Story podcast with guest Jennifer Alemany, author and entrepreneur. Hi, everyone. I'm Lorianne. I am that gal from Milton, Ontario, Canada, and I'm with.
I am that guy. I am Roy Miller from Dallas, Texas. Welcome to our Lift Your Story podcast.
In this episode, we're pleased to have Jennifer Alemany, and she is an author and entrepreneur. Thank you so much for being here with us.
Thank you for having me.
Glad to have you. Well, Jennifer, it says you were a live-in nanny for about a year. So can you tell us a little bit about that? How you became a live-in nanny and what it's like being a live-in nanny?
Yeah, sure. I went to college to be an early childhood teacher, educator. So it was probably my last semester. I was just exploring what I wanted to do. And someone in the advisement office said, oh, there's this nanny network you could, interview for if you're interested. So I started thinking about it and I said, oh, maybe I'd want to do this. Because I went to college and my specialty was infants and toddlers. So I really wanted to work with young babies and toddlers. And you don't always find that in a school, obviously, setting. So I applied, they interviewed me, a bunch of letters of reference, everyone from my mother, all kinds of people around my life. And I got the job, and it was a really nice experience. It was really great to, care for children in their home with their parents and develop a relationship with their parents too. So it was a great experience. I actually connected with both of the daughters, I want to say in 2017. So they're grown in college. And we actually had some great conversations and I told them some little things of their early childhood. And it was a great thing.
So, you kind of became part of the family, right? Since you lived in.
Yeah. Definitely. I went on vacation with them. They took me on vacation with them. I was there for little events and gatherings and so on. So it was nice. It was really, like a second home.
Was it hard leaving?
Oh, yes. It was very difficult because, they're young babies, right? She had the one she had while I was there. She was pregnant when I got there. And then she had that one, the daughter, and I was closest to her, obviously. So very difficult, but, it was something I kind of needed to do at the time when I moved on. So there were a lot of tears, though.
I can imagine.
That makes quite an impact on children, though, because I know I had live-in nanny and she came in from Quebec. So I'm from Canada, so she couldn't speak English, and my kids were going to French school, so I thought she was learning English. But what's also interesting is I'm sure that the family watching you, move on with your life is kind of interesting. We're still in touch, and now she's got kids of her own, and I'm sitting there going, "Oh wow," it's like
yeah, it's really fascinating. Yeah, it's amazing. It's really great.
So you're an author. Can you tell us about your book and how you came about writing your book?
Yeah, my boyfriend passed away 2 years ago, and I've always been one to journal my thoughts and just write. I've been writing since high school. Nothing I've ever thought of publishing. And while I was grieving, I literally went out by the pool and I just started writing. I was just wanted to get some thoughts out. And I was writing very quickly. I noticed it wasn't the same normal writing that I would do. It was very fast, and every day I started doing that. And I want to say 5 months later, I had a book on my hands and I realized, oh, I think I need to publish this. I felt like it was more than myself, that I needed to do it for others who may be grieving and going through things. So I looked into publishing it, and then I went that route. It wasn't something I was looking to do. I didn't sit down and say, oh, I'm going to write a book. I think a lot of people have come to me in life for thoughts and advice and things like that. So I've always been that person, but I think with my life experience, what had happened, and I threw a lot of other things in there as well. I discussed my mother's death 13 years ago and other things as far as being a woman, being Latin and things like that. So I kind of put it together of a little bit of my life. I want to say a little chunk of my story.
Yeah. So it encompasses really you and your experiences.
Yeah. Thus far in my life, I'm 46 years old. So it kind of shows that first block of time. I want to say a little bit of everything. Yeah.
So it's called Mark My Love.
Mm-hmm.
How did you come up with that title?
Yeah, I realized in the book that I was marking points of love in my life, if that makes sense. So I discussed my relationship with my mother as a child, and extended family, that I had a big family and the love there. So I kind of went through different aspects of love. So I marked my love, and that's why I named it that. So I wanted other people to acknowledge, I think, the love in their life, because I think that when we lose people, I think we look at the loss more than anything, right? I've lost someone, I'm grieving, whereas I was like, I want to look at the love I had across the board. So there came the title.
Now, I think Lorianne she can relate to that, can't you, Lorianne?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I think Lorianne kind of relates her life like that as well, I think.
Yeah. Well, we just had a loss of a good friend of mine went, but yeah, it's about saying thank you. I'm grateful for them being in my life,
Mm-hmm.
and making a mark on our lives, right? Because without them at that time, it just, yeah, I celebrate the fact they've been there, but it's still painful. You still grieve,
Yeah.
but it's an easier way to
Yeah.
carry forward, right? So.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to say I didn't do that with my mother, when she passed. It was 13 years ago. We were very close. I don't think I really grieved properly the whole time. But then when Roger passed away, it opened up a lot, right? I was going through a lot again, realizing, oh, I just lost this great love. So then I kind of started realizing to look at what I had instead of what I lost, and then to continue living my life. I think that was a big one too, that I realized, okay, they're gone, and they would want me to keep living and not sit in sorrow, right? I have days where I'm sad and so on, obviously, but for the most part, they're joyful days at this point because of it. So.
Well, I can kind of relate as well, because I'm in the process of writing a book, and I had some close childhood friends, and they've passed away. And so, my deal is that, there was things I wish I would have said to them, and so that's kind of the premise of my book, the things I didn't get to say to them. And so, and it's kind of like you, it's those little periods, we were growing up, and all those experiences we had and all the stuff we did, and I've just, here the last few years, I've lost quite a few friends. So it's, for me, it's just all my friends that have gone. So, and
It's hard. Loss, any kind of loss, and I talk about that in the book. It's hard, any kind of loss, even the loss of a pet, an animal, obviously, anything like that, right? You love something, and it's hard, So I talk about in the book a lot of transformation that I went through with this last loss, and kind of just looking at things differently, really looking at life differently, and knowing, like, valuing each and every day. When I wake up, the first thing I say when I open my eyes is, "Oh, thank you for another day and waking me up, and like, let's see what happens," and that's very different how I lived my life before. And I realized that makes a big difference.
yeah, I mean, because every day is a gift.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it really is. When you think
Yeah.
about the people who've gone, and you're thinking,
Yeah.
look, wow, I got another day, I got another chance.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
absolutely. And it's funny because I know that they're all, people believe different things, but I know that they're all around me in spirit. I know that they are. I feel them at times, and that too, I kind of, when I'm cooking and I'm cooking dishes or recipes of my mother's, I'll say, "Oh, Mom, look, that came out really good. It tasted good." I'll say that to her, and it's very different now, and but it's good. It feels good. It feels right.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. It just keeps that memory and that love alive.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
I do the same thing. I talk to my friends who are not here anymore. I just like they're here with me.
Uh-huh.
It's
Yeah.
Yeah. But so you're also an entrepreneur. Tell us a little bit about what you do there.
I'm a mentor, so I have a few clients that I mentor. I have always been one to mentor since early on in my career. I think it comes from wanting to be that teacher in the beginning of my life, I want to say. So I've just expanded it a little bit more, where I have paying clients and things like that come to me, and they've been really successful, I want to say. I think a lot of them are early on in their career. I kind of specialize in that space. But I want to say that a lot of them have succeeded a lot faster than, say, I did in my career. So it's not a big business right now, but who knows? It's something I'm working on.
Well, but you say you mentioned you mentor high school and college kids, uh, I think especially high school,
Mhm.
I think that's really important because you can make a difference when kids are in high school because they're finishing their their first part of their education. They're either going off to college or going into workforce, whichever. And so having someone there that just kind of sounding board, a guiding light for them is huge.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes a difference. I want to say, I think that I had unofficial mentors in high school. I had the attendance teacher of the school. She wasn't like an official mentor, but she just took me under her wing, and that made a big difference in my life. And I know that. And then for me being, Latin, it's very important for me from that community too, to help that community, raise up a little bit more. So
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, kids, high school kids, well, even college kids, they don't really know what they want to do.
hmm
I mean, if for every day it's a different thing, right?
yeah,
You
I
know,
know.
for somebody to just kind of say, well, you might want to look at this, or, you might think about this, check into
hmm
this, and just to kind of help them navigate
Yeah.
all those indecisions.
And
Yeah.
there's adults still that are like that
Well,
don't know
yeah,
what
yeah,
they want
for
to do.
sure.
So
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny because, I think about, like I said, I was writing in high school and I had teachers who did tell my mom, like, oh, I think you have a gifted writer here. Um, but because, socioeconomically, a Latin background, I come from a single mom, it didn't seem logical, right? It was always get a career that you're going to have a steady paycheck, right? You're writing, you don't know what that's going to bring. So me bringing that story also to the youth of, the world, I want to say, in a sense, is important to me because, I'm not telling everyone like, oh, go out and follow all of your dreams, but don't forget about your dreams, right? Get the paycheck, but don't forget about the dreams too, because I want to say I never would have written this book. And I knew I was a good writer. I remember people saying that all of my life, but I just never thought of it because it wasn't, that firm paycheck that was coming in for sure. So that too, expressing that is important to me.
Yeah, you can tell them, hey, it's okay to get the paycheck, but use that paycheck to fuel your dream,
Yeah.
right? Not
Yeah.
not forget about it. Yeah,
hmm
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of kids, their dreams are stifled.
hmm
Mhm.
Whether it's where they grew up, how they grew up, the people they're
hmm
around, or their mindset, a lot of different things. But they give up on their dreams way too early.
hmm
I
I
like
agree.
that. I like that, Jennifer, what you're saying those. Yeah, you can get the paycheck, but don't give up on your dreams. It was like my father was an opera singer, I mean, very good opera singer, bass baritone. And he was asked to go professional. But his concern is, of course, it's kind of like a book writer. You don't know how.
hmm
So he did become an engineer. However, he didn't stop singing. He'd sing operettas. And I grew up watching him sing, and they were in high schools. They weren't big, huge, audiences. They're quite big, but not huge. But he really never gave up his dream because he kept doing it. So you can have, you know, both of the best worlds, I guess, in a sense.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
are you still dancing? Are you still doing ballet?
Oh no, I've never danced ballet. I
Oh,
love the ballet in general. I was never
oh, okay.
able to, yeah, no, I was never able to take classes. But as a child, I always loved it. I watched it. Yeah, it's still a big part of my soul. I don't think that'll ever go away, but
Well, I know when I was a kid, being a ballet dancer was a dream of a lot of girls. What do you?
mhm,
Oh, I want to be a ballet dancer.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I
That's
It's
love
fun
dancing.
too.
I've always loved dancing. That's always been a part of my life. I just didn't do it professionally. I figured now, I did put it out there in the universe, like, oh, maybe my next life I'll be a great choreographer and dancer. That'd be great.
Yeah, I was one of those wanted to be a ballet dancer, but they told me I was too tall. I couldn't do it. But I did take jazz ballet. I took dance anyway. I didn't care, but yes.
Yeah.
And then I thought, well, that's not fair. But I went to a ballet once and, they're all the guy looked so tall and yet he was shorter than me. I'm thinking, and he looked
Yeah.
too tall and too lanky almost, right? And you're going like it was 5'8". And they're going, yeah, now I can see why.
Yeah. Lori answered the sign said, no Amazons need apply.
But I got through. I got through the tall thing. Even cheerleaders, a lot of them were small. I cheerleaded as well. So I just was the one that was holding up all the small girls. So but it worked out for me.
Yeah. That's awesome. It's funny because I remember there was one Christmas party at my office, gosh, years ago, and I was dancing like I don't want to say pretty much all night because I can't help it. And she was an exchange student that worked for the company. She literally came up to me and says, "Can I have your autograph?" And I said, "For what?" She says, "I think you're such a great dancer." She goes, "All the kinds of music, like you just knew how to change into this or that. It was amazing." And I was like, "Oh wow." So who knows?
That's
We'll see.
sweet. But dancing really lifts the spirit, though.
Yeah.
Like it really does. So
It does. It does.
even if you're not doing it professionally, it's very therapeutic. I love doing it, and my dogs love to dance with me. So.
Me too. I have a little dog, and he's just 2 years old, but he right away he loves the music too.
Well, let me just say this. I'm happy for y'all that y'all like to dance and all that because I love music, but I am the most tone deaf, no rhythm person in the world. I mean, I've tried to learn. I just can't. I just don't have it. I can't do it. My sister's trying to teach me to do the two-step back in the 80s, and she said, "Just feel the music." I said, "That means absolutely nothing to me. Nothing." So I love music, but I cannot dance. Can't do it. So I admire y'all that can.
That's okay. We forgive you, Roy.
Yeah.
So how was your corporate work, in human resources?
Oh, I mean, it was it was a good run. I want to say for 22 years, I enjoyed it. Again, I think I want to say I was always good with people, right? So it was a different aspect of it. But I'm honest with people recently where I say I knew it didn't fulfill me. It never fulfilled me completely. And now the book, after I've written the book and I'm writing 2 more right now, it's kind of this is what I'm meant to do, I believe. So it was great while it lasted. I'll put it that way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so you found your passion and your purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I was always asking people that, and I want to say, after Roger passed away, I was asking people that more and more, saying, I don't know my purpose. I know I'm not meant to do this in HR. It wasn't right, even though I was successful in the space. And then here comes the book and me doing that. So, and it feels just right. And it's easy. It's so easy for me.
Yeah.
It's nice to hold your first book too, isn't it?
Yeah. It was amazing. It was such a mix of emotions. In a sense, obviously it's a memoir. So and I'm a private person generally, so I'm putting all this information out in the world now. But I grappled with that. I got through it. I'm like, that's okay. And then once it went out, I was like, all right, everyone knows what they know now.
Yeah, but it wasn't, the fear ended up not being what you thought it'd be, right? After you did it, it's kind of like, what was the big deal? Why was I worried? Right.
Yeah, I mean, it feels right. I think, the people that are coming back to me with feedback, it's touching people, which that was my point. And just, again, awakening people a little bit of living life differently, So it was meant to be. I know that deep down. So I made the sacrifice of putting myself out there, and it's fine.
Yeah, but, being vulnerable is hard, but then your vulnerability touches a lot of people. They can relate to it. And then when they come back to you and tell you, oh, I'm so glad because this happened to me or whatever. So that's the real reward, isn't it?
Yeah. I've been hearing that a lot. Because like I said, there's all these little other hidden messages in there, where I talk about different things in my life and people say, oh, that happened to me. And I want to say both male and female, which has been a joy for me that it's coming from both, genders. It's not just female relating, and I think that's good, but I have touched a few folks already and I hope to touch a lot more.
Well, when you're going through your stuff, your personal stuff, you know, I think people tend to feel like, why has this happened to me? You know, nobody else has to go through this except me. And then once you find out that everybody is going through it, everybody's had that same experience, and it's nice to be able to connect and say, oh wow, you know, I thought I was by myself, but I'm not. There's so many other people that had the same thing I did, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say, you know, I talk about in the book a little bit that I didn't ask God why, you know, these people left my life when they did, because it wasn't my place to ask, in a sense. So I talk about that a little bit too, of, you know, some spirituality that I uncovered, you know, in all of this. So.
No, that's true. There's
Yeah.
a lot of people that blame God for taking them away, and then they even lose their faith from losing someone close to them. But
Yeah. One of my sisters, my dad passed away, then her oldest son passed away, and she had a lot of anger, a lot about that, you know. And that was, my dad passed away in 2011. My nephew passed away about 5 years ago, and my sister still struggles with it every day.
Yeah.
You know.
It's never easy, you know. I mean, you know, it comes into, you know, it came into my space a little bit, you know, honestly, a lot of anger, but a little bit, of course. You're a human being, but I just knew I needed to let it go. And I think when I talk about in the book, when I got into nature a little bit more, I was taking like long walks. I noticed, you know, 3-5 miles, and that kind of cleared my mind a lot. And I want to say a lot of the anger, where I realized this has nothing to do with me. You know, it was the choice. It's God's choice. It was their time. And that was that, you know what I mean? So that helped me, that reflection and just being out in nature helped any kind of negative thoughts, I want to say, that would come into my space.
Yeah.
not an easy subject. It couldn't have been easy to write, even if it was the flowing, but it still had to have been hard. I know that Roy had some tough times too with.
Yeah. My best closest friend growing up, when he passed away, you know, I want to do the book, but every time I would try to sit down and do it, it was too emotional for me. It took me a long time to be able to sit down and do it. And I mean, I struggled. I'll tell you, I struggled through it. I mean, I cried through it when I was writing it, the chapter, and you know, it was hard, but at the same time, it was therapeutic because I got through it. And then after it meant a lot to me when I got that chapter done, and I was able to go on to the other after that. But that first I'm telling you, I seriously struggled. It took me a long time to do it.
Yeah, I cried the entire time. Like I said, I think the majority of it I did write outside by the pool, and I literally was sitting out there. I live in an apartment complex, and I'm sure my neighbors were looking at me like, "What's with this?" You know what I mean? I was sitting there with shades on and a sun hat, you know, and I would just be crying while I wrote it, and it was what it was. But it wasn't easy in that sense. It was emotional, and then doing all the read backs of it when I was reading through it and kind of editing that was too another, every single time without fail, you know. So I think I knew it was ready. I think when I stopped crying, I want to say, I think I was been telling folks that I read it one last time and then I didn't cry, and I realized that, and I said, okay, I think it's ready. And that's when I knew.
That makes perfect sense to me. Perfect sense.
Closure.
Yeah, I think, yeah.
That's wonderful. And so your book is available on Amazon?
Yeah, it's available on Amazon, on BookBaby, and Barnes & Noble.
Okay.
Perfect. Excellent.
So Jennifer, if our listeners want to reach out to you, how can they get a hold of you?
My website, www.jennifermalemany.com.
Okay.
Perfect.
And I'm on Facebook also, and I'm on Instagram and LinkedIn as well.
Okay.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing this. We really enjoyed having you on, and I'm sure a lot of people will be able to connect with this story. So
Yes.
Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. It was a great conversation. I really enjoyed it.
All right, Jennifer, thank you. It was a pleasure meeting you.
Pleasure meeting you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode. Be sure to visit us at lifterstory.com.